start the recording. Okay.
Anybody we don't know?
Well, you got Connie, Emily, Margaret. Suzanne.
Yeah, so
Yeah, the same old.
I didn't want to go into a bunch of details. I'm David, and this is Connie, and
yeah, we're just gonna say hey.
So I'm Andrew. I don't know any of you. I just joined a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
Oh, hi, Andrew. Then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm new too. I'm Lori. I just
Okay,
joined.
Lori.
Lori, how you doing?
Hi, Lori. All right, then we have to say.
Okay. Well, you guys go ahead. Well, welcome to the to this Job Saturday workshop. We try to do them every month. Chris, we don't have one next month, but Chris is on for November, right?
Actually, I think I'm scheduled for October 3rd.
Oh, you're October. You're October. November's.
Thank you.
You're October. So you're on with photographing children after that. So this is perfect timing. Got a cold front coming through next week. This couldn't be better timing for this. And we're all stuck in Houston. Look at this. The topic is perfect.
It sounds like we have a great opportunity. Outdoor squirrel pictures.
We already covered that.
We don't cover that in our presentation, so.
Yeah, we don't.
I'll just turn it over to you.
That's not one of the wildlife things we go after. But we do photograph them, believe me.
Okay, so you're screen sharing at this point?
Yeah, you have to screen share.
I know, but I've got it hit, so.
There, it's coming up. Let's see. Okay, I got it. Says Zoom there.
Yeah. So, you see it?
No, okay, yes, I do. Discovering outdoor photography.
There we go.
All
There you
right.
go. Perfect.
All right. Well, this is our presentation. Connie and I started doing photography years ago, and we really started where we got the opportunity to go to Saudi Arabia in '91, and we were there for 3 years. And one of the things we saw was a lot of pretty birds coming across the peninsula there, believe it or not, in Saudi Arabia. So we kind of got interested, and we got to travel a lot to different countries, Africa and different places. So we really got into it then. And ever since then, we're getting taken bird pictures and animal pictures and everything else. So we've always liked wildlife, and it's something we can do together too. We both really like doing this. So this is a kind of a outdoor photography deal. We just went around Houston and looked for places in an area, not just Houston, but an area to take outdoor photography pictures. So it should be interesting, I hope.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit of a different stretch for us in some areas, but especially since most of the people who are attending today are members of the photo club, y'all are going to recognize some of these sites, but hopefully we've added some things that y'all haven't been to. The other thing we've prepared is a reference sheet, as I call it, that'll have all these sites on it with websites and all, and we can share that later on with everybody.
Good.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
It's not just wildlife, it's just a little of everything. And we started, we did this presentation for the county park over here. What was the name of it?
Jesse Jones
Jesse
Park.
Jones Park, yeah.
And so we did that a couple weeks ago. And so hopefully we've got it down, but we'll see.
Yeah, okay.
So what we thought we'd start with first is just to let people know what our equipment is, or what at least we use mainly, especially in these presentations. So what's in our bag is, of course, our cameras. David shoots the Canon 5D Mark IV, and I shoot the 7D Mark II. And of course, as I heard Bill say earlier, all of us have cell phones. So there's definitely an opportunity for cell phones still in today, even with outdoor photography in particular. The only thing we try to keep harping on everybody is to know your camera. And the way to get to do that is read your manual and practice.
And practicing.
And so, I mean, I still read our manual, and I've done photography a while. That just tells you I still need to read my manual. There's so many things on these cameras too, as you become more and more advanced.
Yeah.
And then our lenses, David's go-to lens for landscape and outdoor photography in terms of structures and stuff is a 16 to 35 2.8. And my lens is the 24 to 70 2.8.
Which is kind of good, because when we do these things, we get two different perspectives. And Connie's camera is a crop, and mine's a full frame. So we really get two different perspectives when we start doing the landscape shots and stuff with the different lenses.
And so our lenses, David has the 400 2.8, and I have the 1-400. And so that also gives me more flexibility of having things when they start coming in a little bit closer to us. And then we also own a 70 200. And actually we have a 300, but this is kind of covers the whole gamut. So you can see we pretty much cover from 16 to 400 in what we have that we can shoot. Now, we recommend, though, that to do photography, especially different types of photography here between landscape and our wildlife, are tripods. And when you go into buying a tripod, you need to look at what's the weight of your equipment, what is the heaviest piece that you're going to put on it. And you can see in our particular case, we use the Wimberley heads on our tripods.
Which are heavy in themselves, you know, and so you really need a sturdy tripod. If you don't, you'll sit there and just flex in the wind. So, and I know some people say, well, they're heavy to carry, but depends on, you know, if you want to get really good crisp shots, you've got to have a really good tripod too.
As you can see, sometimes you're on unlevel areas, and it just allows you to steady your camera and get great shots. I think somebody took this one for us.
You know, I think I did.
Yeah, I think you did. I like that shot of David.
Yes.
And then, you know, even a monopod is something that works for a lot of people. I know David started with a monopod, and we still own it, actually. And we'll talk about some places that's the only thing you can take in, actually.
Yeah.
I can't hold a monopod. Mine goes like this. It just, somehow or another, I have a sway to me when I have them. So the tripod is definitely my friend. And then since we're definitely into the wildlife.
You know, I used to have a monopod that had feet that would extend out the end of it if you wanted them.
Huh.
Well, that's great, but mine is at the top where I start shaking. Yeah, maybe the feet keep me.
It would stabilize the monopod.
Yeah, just not me when I'm swaying. But we also use bean bags. These are great to use out of the cars or sitting on the cars or sitting on a post somewhere. It's just a great way to stabilize your equipment. Okay, now we're going to start some of the things that we started exploring the Houston area about. And we've just got a little heading here called Sculptures and Statues. There are a million in Houston. So these were just some that we picked up because where else we were. This is the Virtuosa. This is downtown Houston. It's the giant cello player. These happen to be what's back behind him. This is one of the very first large-scale concrete structures that David Atkiss did. And for those maybe going, who's David Atkiss? He's the guy from Huntsville that did the Sam Houston statue. He also has one down in Angleton of Stephen F. Austin, and a few others that y'all will recognize here, I'm sure. So this kind of shows you, this is what it looks like from the front. And it does light up at night, so I think it'd probably be better at night. But you can see down here, here's the little guys I took. I thought the little guys were just as more interesting as the big guy was. But this is great to get, just if you're downtown and you're doing other things or in the east side, we'll show you some other things, you know, just drive around. I know that the group has gone and done the downtown photos. He's just there, just grabbing.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to park there with a little parking space to park. If you go on the weekends, you know, it's pretty easy to get there too. And
most people knew about David Atkiss beetle structures. They kind of floated around the Houston area for a while, but they have found their home at the Eighth Wonder Brewery, which is on the east side of town. And they do pretty good. Actually, this is kind of the black and white I took him. I think he might have looked pretty good in infrared if I'd have known how to do that. But the Eighth Wonder Brewery is open. It's kind of not now, so it'd be a nice, and they're also lit up at night.
this is the Electric Menagerie Park. This is on 288, just right outside the Beltway. It's on the right-hand side, and it's almost the first exit that you get past that 288. And they actually have a parking place there for you to park and take pictures. This is a pipe yard, and I guess they do supply pipes and do fabrication. And they have a guy there that started doing these sculptures out of the piping material, and now it's really grown. They must have 20 of them. I hadn't counted them all, but there's a lot of them there. And they're kind of a fun thing to take pictures of. We had pretty nice skies that day. I think they'd be nice. And you really want to shoot these in the morning because in the evening you're going to have backlight. The sun's going to be in the back. So these are something you'd want to shoot in the morning. Probably be really neat about sunrise too. So we can just go through the, here you can see a few of the different sculptures they have this guy's made. And so it's just really interesting stuff to shoot pictures of.
Yeah, and you can see here's the pipe yard in the background. We didn't Photoshop any of these pictures, so you've got to see what's really there.
Yeah.
Then you can take Chuck's class and learn how to take all this stuff out.
Yeah.
But you can see it's gorgeous. They have like Snoopy. If you're into Snoopy, he's on a different structure that they have there. But everybody usually notices these going down 288.
Yeah.
And then I know the Photo Club's made this trip too, just recently, I guess, is the Cockerel Butterfly Center. I know this isn't exactly outdoors, but it is kind of outdoors, indoors. The nice thing about the Butterfly Center is that you can get butterflies from around the world right here in Houston. And then there's beautiful plants inside there as well. Now they only allow a monopod,
yeah,
unless they've changed things. But that's the last time we were in there. They only allowed
yeah,
a monopod.
it's been a while since we've been there, but yeah, they would let you use a monopod, but you couldn't use a tripod. I don't know, they may have changed that by now. I don't know.
Anybody here go this last time? No?
Yes, I went with Ann and some other people. I believe it was, oh gosh, May, June, something like that. And no tripods. And I didn't see anybody with a monopod, but we were there just with our cameras, so we were good.
Yeah. But at least it was still no tripods. That's what I thought.
Right.
Yeah.
They also have windows full of chrysalises of every
Inside.
color and kind. It's fabulous.
Yeah.
So this is just some of the pictures.
Just some of the pictures for people who don't know, haven't been there.
Okay, now we're going to just call this historical locations for the sake of that.
Hey, Connie,
Uh-huh.
question. Do you have all of these on our map on the website?
No, they're not yet. I've started putting some of them, but I will put the rest of them.
Okay, yeah, all right. Just
I think the first couple of ones were definitely the structures and the statues have been there, I think.
I recognize those. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is the Glenwood Cemetery, which has the rich and famous, I guess, people buried in Houston here.
Hang on.
You didn't? Oh, that's what that was.
Yeah, because that's where I was.
Okay, historical location, but that's where this photograph is. The day we were there, it was really overcast, cloudy, so picture was really flat. So by making it black and white, it brought out a lot of the features. So that's different things you can do when you're looking at photography. If you don't like it in color, go to black and white.
But the first historical site we're going to talk about is Bethel Baptist Church Park. And for people who don't know where this is, it's just outside of downtown on the west side, almost across from the aquarium setup. And this church is a historical church. It was built like in 1891. So it's been around for a long time, but it burned down in, I think it was 2005. Yeah, I think that's when it was. And they just gutted it and decided not to rebuild there. And unfortunately, all around it has now developed into like townhomes and apartments. And so it's very difficult to get the front of this without having a real wide angle lens. This is through the front entrance.
Yeah, it's closed right now.
Yeah, it's closed right now. There's the reference to it. So it's a historical site. This is from the back of it. As you can see, probably right there on the edges, there's some of those townhouses I was talking about from the front side. This is probably the best time to go to this is when it's work days, Monday through Friday, or maybe Monday through Thursday. So many people off on Fridays, because I don't think in the evenings or on the weekends you can probably find parking because everybody's parking on the side of the street.
Yeah, it's really a really crowded neighborhood there.
Yeah, it really turns that. But I have seen this at night. I don't know if somebody's put candles in it or if it lights up. These lights right here light it up enough to get those stained glass. I think that would be a very nice picture too. I thought you was going to say something. Now you can talk about Glenwood.
Now this is Glenwood Cemetery. I forgot we were going to the other one first, but anyway. So Connie and I went over there, oh, I don't know, maybe a month ago, took pictures, and we went late in the afternoon. We thought we'd get the good sunset, but again, it was one of those afternoons where it's one of those late afternoon thunder showers, and so it turned up being fairly cloudy. So we didn't get it's quite a good picture as one, but there's a lot of things to shoot there. The club has been there too. So, I mean, it's just a lot of, as you say, things, the pictures of the cemeteries, the structures, the monuments and stuff. It's really a neat place. I think it would be a neat place to go take pictures in the fall and mower the leaves off the trees too, because you do have a lot of shade in underneath there.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Howard Hughes is buried there too.
I heard that Howard Hughes was buried there. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, you'll definitely know. Well, it doesn't say Howard Hughes so obvious, but they do provide some information in the offices if you hit their hours so that they can tell you different places. As you can see, we picked one that said Baker. James Baker is actually going to be buried out there himself.
It's a beautiful, beautiful cemetery though.
It is. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, a lot of the founders of Houston, you know, famous former mayors and people involved in, you know, philanthropy are buried there.
Yeah, you can see all the names. See, even in the background here, there's Allen. So it's the Allen brothers are there. You know, people have been around Houston any length of time. Even Ron Stone, who was a TV person, you know, a news guy, he's buried out there.
This place is so well maintained. I often wonder for myself, how much does it cost you were buried there? Because you keep the maintenance up, and it's got to be very expensive. So you got to be wealthy to be buried there. That's for sure.
Yeah. But you can see here the full grounds kind of, or this section of the grounds.
Yeah.
It's just gorgeous. Okay, and most everybody knows about the San Jacinto Monument, but a lot of people don't go and take pictures there. There is so much detail around that area and opportunities. This is the building up close. Of course, it's not all that sharp, but still, I just wanted to show all those details. And you can see here around the bottom, then a different angle of it from the battleship. But of course, you can take the elevator all the way to the top and take pictures out at the top as well. Of course, it's closed right now because of the virus, but that was my goal that day, but we didn't get there.
And if you go, if they have a little, you know, the battleground area was all around the monument there. So they have the roads going through the little park area. And it's kind of neat because they have the signs up there tells you what happens at different locations. So, you know, you get a little history lesson as well, as, you know, trying to get some good photography shots. So.
And
They used to have a wonderful seafood restaurant right there too. I think they moved it.
No, they didn't. It's still there. We'll talk
We're
about
going
that
to talk
too.
about that. I mean, one of the things when you're doing photography, you got to always look out for finding a good place for lunch.
Where to eat.
Where to eat. Yeah.
And along that drive he was talking about, there is a different view of that monument, and it's always good. You can frame it with trees, you can frame it with high grass. I mean, we probably got 1,000 pictures that day, but chose not to share over and over.
And we did, as you saw, we did have good skies that day too. It actually,
yeah, it's a gorgeous day.
Gorgeous clouds.
Okay, and of course, across the street from the monument, what do we have? Battleship Texas, or at least at the moment, until they decide to move it, because there's some talk about the dry docking it somewhere.
Yeah, they're working on it now, but again, that's a nice, you know, something to look at it. And I guess it's not open now for tours, but I think you can tour it as well, whenever things are normal.
And of course, like, shall we talk about it here, or shall we wait? Okay. And then another historical site outside of Houston, it's in the town of Washington, but it's Washington on the Brazos State Historic Site. This is one of the sites we try to find our way to when we're out doing wildflower pictures. So each spring, as you can tell, it's quite not got the leaves out or something. But they always have some kind of activities. So between getting the old buildings and the people doing activities dressed up, it's just really a nice stop, I should say.
And they do have some wildflowers on the ground there as well. So it's
just
a nice
wasn't at that moment, but yeah. I think my next picture. No, here we go.
Okay.
Then we decided, well, we need to find us a new spot for Houston skyline. Everybody knows about the one off of Sabine Bridge, and actually since we've gone, there's still some more places to go. But this happened to be an accident because we were out driving around and I was trying to get a better shot of something else and found this park. And this happens to be on a overpass right beside the park. What you're seeing is the Buffalo Bayou down here on the bottom left-hand corner. And this has the walkway or the ride that they have where everybody can ride their bikes and run. And it goes along the bayou and then ends up going underneath this overpass into that park. So you can actually park your car in the park and then just walk to the overpass. And the overpass is not very high. And we were not bothered at all that day with anything in there.
No, there's very little traffic there at Eat too, so
Yeah.
kind of nice.
So you can kind of see that look. Here's the bayou.
Yeah. Connie didn't like the color of the water, so.
I did not change the color for anything in here, so everybody gets to see the way these shots really are.
But I think this would be a good spot. You could do sunrises, you can do sunsets here of the city because it's a good location for both. You know, we were just happened to be there, but it's like, I don't know what time we were, 10 o'clock in the morning maybe.
It was late, yeah.
So it wasn't the best time of the day for getting good shots, but we did at least have good cloud coverage, so it wasn't too bad. But I would recommend going there at sunrise and closer to sunset.
Yeah, so you can see you're on the east side of town.
Yeah.
So you can see that brown water.
It's another shot in the brown water.
Can't see mine. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, with the two cameras, we get different views with different lenses.
Looks funny on that. Okay, now we're going to talk about parks. We have so many options around here. We have both the Harris County Parks. You can go on their website and you can look at all of them. They tell you kind of what they have to offer. And then the city parks is the same way. We have some great city parks that are popping up and the things that they do, even Memorial Park, which is the big one. And then state parks within our driving for a day. Of course, since we did our presentation on Jones Park, I wanted to highlight Jones Park. This is their Redbud Hill Homestead, and it is, you know, all set up for like the Pioneer Days.
Yeah.
Actually, they have Pioneer Days there, which is another thing I think the club probably would enjoy, even because their Pioneer Day this year is going to be Saturday, November the 14th. It does require online reservations, and they start those reservations like in October. They also have a Native American Heritage Day, but unfortunately they had to take it to virtual. So that's going to be interesting to see. And it's going to be Saturday, September the 12th, which I think would be another great photo opportunity, just not virtual.
Yeah, we're going to have Native Americans in their costumes and stuff, so that would be a great photo opportunity. You could go to it, but not this year.
And then they have other activities. They have like a Second Saturday Settlers presentations. And I know they have one coming up in October that's going to be woodworking. So you get to see the people who actually do maintain these buildings. As you can see, they actually do this type thing and they actually build it back or maintain them within that using their original tools. And the other thing this park does is they have pontoon boats. They do the tours, and the next one's going to be Saturday, September the 26th. And also the same thing, reservations are required. So you can always go onto those. And so you're going down Spring Creek, which is a really great idea. But you can just see some of the pictures that we took around the Redbud Hill.
Yeah, some of the old things they have there, the old sugarcane mill and the corn grinder, I think is what that other one is up here.
It's the picker, yeah.
Picker, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of different old things, old buildings they rebuilt. It looked like a little settler community.
With the pontoon boats, do they have a pickup car to take you back or what?
You just leave and come back in the same spot
Oh, okay,
at the park.
okay,
Yeah, they just take you down the creek and come back.
okay.
And then just a little bit further down the road is the Mercer Arboretum and Botanical Gardens. And most people here, I think, are familiar with it. It's every season there's something different. It's just a really, really nice park in our area that unfortunately both of these parks have an impact on flooding too, but hopefully we'll get that corrected too. So these are just some different structures, if you will, within Mercer's that I think have some very good opportunities for photography.
Yeah, they got structures, that flowers, that just about, you know, anything you want to take a picture of. I think it's really a nice place to do pictures. The bamboo, little structures there.
The birdhouses.
The birdhouse structure.
And of course, everybody recognizes the stone because almost every kid has a graduation picture there, I think.
And when we were there, the flowers are really nice, so we did flower shots.
Yeah. Little water systems they have. Then you can just, if you're into just the coloring, you can just take pictures of the different colored plants. And of course, they have a little whimsical little fairy garden, I guess. I thought that was cute. Then even the trees with their little
cypress balls, and they have cypress trees there on that.
And then a state park, which most people aren't familiar with, is Sheldon Lake State Park. Its entrance used to be on Highway 90. They changed it a couple years ago, where now it's right on Garrett Road, which is just go down the Beltway south, and you'll see Garrett Road exit, and it'll take you there. This park was originally a state fishery years ago. It's where they grew the fingerling little fishes. So there's all these little ponds that they have still set up for that, and they have a walk in between it.
Yeah, there's probably, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 of these little ponds, I call them, and they some have alligators, and you see here they had the babies when we were out there, and and it has a lot of birds at different times of year, so it's kind of a nice place to go.
These pictures were last year or year before, just had gorgeous colors. This, the upper right-hand picture is actually the lake itself, which you can view from their platform that they have over near these ponds that we're talking about.
Yeah, that platform, it must, I don't know what it is, maybe 100 feet or so, or 75 feet tall. I mean, it has an elevator, so you can ride the elevator at the top and look out on the...
That presumes that the elevator's working, David.
Yeah, well, it does for us. We've never had a problem.
Yeah, when we were out there last fall, they were working, so...
Yeah. Yeah, and every time we've gone, it's worked.
Yeah, and you can fish in these little ponds. I think it's just a fish and release.
Yeah, catch and
type
release
thing too. If you have grandkids, somebody wants to go fishing, it's a good place to take them.
Yeah, they provide fishing poles and everything too, if you want them.
Yeah, yeah. If somebody's out there that you can find.
Yeah.
But they also do programs out there. You know, especially if you got kids or grandkids, they do little programs. That's really good.
But it's pretty in the fall. I mean, the water, you get the reflection there in the water. It's really, really a nice little place. And this is a Big Thicket National Preserve up at Warren, Texas. We had already heard about the pitcher plants, and so Connie and I decided to go up and try to find them. So we did. We drove up. This is about, I think about a month ago too. We were up there.
Yeah.
These things actually, I think April is probably the peak of them. I'm not for sure, but they were really still good when we were there last month. So it's really easy to get to. You drive up, and they actually have a concrete walkway that walks all the way out about, 100, 200 feet.
I don't even know if it's that far.
And then you go into a boardwalk, and all on the boardwalk on both sides are all these pitcher plants. And so you're right there with them, right in the middle of them.
So they're on each side of the boardwalks are this kind of set up, the picture in the middle here on the top. They're just out, it's just amazing. And then you can tell that the pitcher plants have the different colors. You know, you can get that really lime green look, or you can get that red look. And, you know, your objective really, you know, you always see all the animals or something inside these pitcher plants. So we were trying to look for some, but I found the bee, but he didn't go very far down in there. And David had the spider on the top of the other one.
Yeah.
Now these red items up here happen to be the blooms off of the pitcher plant.
Yeah, supposedly those come up and bloom, and then the pitcher plant part comes up next. But the blooms are really interesting. You almost need to get underneath them and photograph them from the underside, but they're really a neat bloom.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of color and stuff to photograph there.
And the Big Thicket has a lot more trails and a lot more things to just discover. I've seen some beautiful pictures back in there. So that'll be something we'll explore in a cooler weather. And of course, a good place to take pictures, Houston Zoo. It also has beautiful grounds. They have nice plants, you know, and the flowers are usually, it's really nice setup they have now. It's a great place to practice wildlife photography because you've got to get the attention of the animal or hope they're looking a great way. We just find it's a fun place to go to.
Yeah, you got that nice pond there that has a lot of ducks and water birds in it too that are, you know, like the wood duck. There are a lot of wood ducks in there and they're easy to photograph. So it's
yeah,
kind of a neat place
they're
for
still
wood ducks.
wild. In that particular case, the ponds he's talking about, they're still wild. They just come in and mooch off the people who are sitting there eating.
And if you're not doing that, to shop there, you know.
Yeah, and as you can see, look, who else has got this nice picture of a gorilla? Not me. And this particular bird is a
resplendent quetzal, and we've got pictures of them. We were down in where was it? Belize too. We're shooting them up those trees, and they're way up there. Those trees are huge, maybe 100 feet tall, and you're up standing on your back, laying down, almost trying to take a picture of them. At the zoo, you can get them pretty easily. Beautiful birds.
Yeah, I went last month or about 2 months ago, and with the COVID restrictions, one thing to keep in mind is they own you. It's a one-way circuit now, and it goes counterclockwise. So they'll keep you from. They don't want you doubling back. In other words, so it's one of those that if I wanted to go shoot elephants first, and I had to basically, because I knew the lighting would be good there, but I had to sort of either rush through the park or just shoot it last. But just something to consider. You sort of have to plan until we get over this these restrictions. You sort of have to plan your trek as you get there.
Chris, didn't they require you to get tickets online before you got there too?
Yeah, I'm a member, so I was able to do it and just, you know, show my pass when I went in. And then they have you exit now out of a different gate than the entrance gate, but it's still in that general parking lot area, so you don't have to walk very far. And I found it was, for school being out, I think I went early June, there was very few people there, just because and it gets hot. I was wearing a mask, and you know, you're really perspiring wearing that mask walking around, but it's required. So, anyway.
Yeah. The zoo's really nice to go in the winter though. A lot of people don't go then, and it's a really good time to go.
Well, next week will be a good time too, because the weather's going to cool off. Okay.
Yes.
And I grew up on a farm, so I always loved farmers markets. And this particular one here we're going to show you is the one on the airline. I'm assuming a lot of you have been to that, but you get a lot of colorful vegetables and fruits and people to take pictures of. It's a fun place to photograph. And the people, you know, you can ask them if you can photograph them, and we didn't have any problems. They didn't mind at all. And right now this is under reconstruction. They're redoing this whole farmers market. There's only 2 buildings there right now. The tent, you can see it's a big tent. There's 2 of those right now, but when they get through, it's going to really be a big area again. So it'll have a lot more produce and a lot more market people there than you have when we were there about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So it's really a neat place. But whenever we travel, we also always go to farmers markets. One of the things we always ask for when we're in some other country, is there not a farmer, but a market, a local market we can go to and photograph, because it's always something neat and colorful to see. So
I do the same thing.
Yeah. You know, you pay all this money to go somewhere, and then we go, "Where's your market?"
Yeah, where's your market? Want to go? We went to a real interesting one in China. We were in China. We photographed, and they had all the snakes and eels and stuff they were eating. You know, oh my God, you never see that. You know, so going to a market when you're traveling is really a fun thing to do. You never know what you're going to see. But these are just some of the pictures we took inside the market there. Like I say, you see all the different vegetables, and of course I had to buy. These are peanuts here. I have to buy the roasted peanuts when I go. And we bought a few other things. So it's not only a good fun place to photograph, you can get some good food too.
Yeah, we always eat. So this is the farmers markets in and around Houston. There's a website down here, but it'll be on my reference sheet so that you can see the different ones. Like we have even ours here in Kingwood. Once it's in full bloom back again, it's a great place to take shots. You know, they've really got, they can do the same thing. We can have our plants in, or the different foods, the bigger bigger people selling. And most of those people are pretty open also. If they're not, you just don't take their picture.
Yeah, but it's hard to take photos in there because it was in the, you're inside the building and shaded. So I was shooting fairly high ISOs on these shots to get them. So I guess I didn't want to use a flash because to me, flash usually draws attention to what you're doing. And so I didn't want to, I just usually like to rather shooting high ISOs to get the pictures.
And of course, I know the photo club did this earlier this year too, I think, or maybe a year ago, was the Houston murals, which are, some people call graffiti, others of us call murals. Since David said that wasn't graffiti, I said, yeah, it's artists at work. And so this, we kind of concentrated ours on the east side of downtown. So these are, you know, the more popular ones that you'll recognize. But there's, this website gives you the mural map, and you can trace them down and follow all around. And you start noticing some of the artists and getting to know their style. Like this person is Nikki Davis, and of course, Gonzo 247, which I don't have any of his stuff in here, but he was really the kind of the one that brought the murals to attention, the graffiti to attention. We didn't say we understood every one of them. We just liked the color in some of them.
And not sure what the intent of the meaning is for all these.
Yeah,
but, you know.
yeah. Of course, this was a good one for a while. Of course, we like the idea that it said sports bar around the corner. And this is one that if you like the looks of this one and you don't have this picture, I'd recommend getting it. This is on the side of Trey Bear's in downtown on Travis Street. Trey Bear's lease was not renewed, so I'm not for sure what the owner of that building is going to do. And that's the thing about graffiti or the murals that are on the buildings. You can go down again in about 2 years and they've been painted over, or they've changed. Because this little creature here used to be perfectly good up here in the left-hand corner. You could see him coming down the stairs. And as you can see, it's only part of him left up here.
Yeah, they keep painting over.
Yeah. And so, you want to talk about
yeah, and when I was photographing this, I was taking a picture, and I didn't notice it at first, but this little guy was sitting over here just looking at the murals, and I didn't know if he was one of the artists or he just liked them or what. So anyway, he got up, and I went over and started talking to him, and he just said, oh, he just likes to come see the murals. And so he let me take some other pictures of him too, which was kind of interesting. Like I said, but I didn't even notice him when I was taking a picture until I looked up, and there he was. I kind of like startled me. What are you doing there? You know? So you never know what you're going to capture in your pictures. It's just more of the murals. They're real colorful, so they're kind of, and this is interesting, when we were sitting there and a couple of kids drove up in a Mercedes-Benz, 3 of them, and they got out and one of them had his shirt off and jumps up on his hood and throws his arms out, and the other taking pictures with his camera or his phone, you know.
Yeah.
And then they sat there and took 3 or 4 pictures, got back in the car and drove off. So.
Yeah. But David did get a picture of him before he drove off.
Yeah.
We just don't have it in this. Yeah. And of course, if you want to be a part of the secret group, this is what you got to look like, apparently. Another one of those we didn't understand, so maybe somebody can explain it to us. This particular place is the Harrisburg Art Museum, and it is off of Harrisburg. It is a warehouse kind of district with, I think it's about 13 or 14 overhead doors on both sides of this. So at one point this was something else, but it is truly their art museum, except for they're also closed at this time because of the virus. But they rented out their parking lot to Amazon. So all the Amazon trucks were parked in front of the overheads for us when we first got there.
Yeah, every overhead door has a mural painted on it. So when she says there's maybe 12 or 14 on each side, that's 12 or 14 different murals on each side of the building. So you have a bunch of them.
Yeah, and they were actually pulling out. So we did get to take pictures of them. But each year, this art museum has contests for their students, and they get to repaint those doors. So this is a prime example which changes all the time.
And then there's always Galveston. Galveston's one of our favorite places to go do photography.
In the winter.
In the winter. In the winter.
Mostly.
Yeah, in the winter. Winter and fall.
Yeah, spring too.
These are the sandhill cranes which come into Galveston every fall and stay there for, I don't know, maybe 3 months or so before they leave again. and they're all, you just drive around, and these are the coyotes. Interesting thing about this is at the little municipal airport there one morning. There were, I must have been, I don't know, maybe 20 of these guys there that morning. And we got this group together, and they're actually, think they have some of the red wolf blood in this line of coyotes. And the red wolves are about extinct. There are some, I think, still in the wild in Mississippi or Alabama somewhere, but there's not many of them left. But they do think these guys are interbred with them. But we see the coyotes almost every time we go down there. And then, of course, you have all these different birds in there in the fall and winter time. And we always go on the west side of Galveston, pretty much around. There's a lot of little roads over there around the state park, 8 Mile Road, 7.5 Mile Road, 10 Mile Road, and just a bunch of those little roads. We just go back and run up and down those roads, and there's always something out there, some of the wildlife. The peregrine falcon on that side, there's a big water tower, and the peregrine falcon sits on this water tower, and he's there nearly every year. We see him up there. It's a pretty high up shot, but you don't see them very often. So it's a unique place and unique bird to go see.
He does come down to feed. So if you can catch him on a tree, it'd be great. But most of the time he lands on trees that are too far away. Yeah. But anyway, we just circled.
In October in Galveston, they have the Hawk Fest because all the hawks are flying south, and they have a big thing there.
Yeah,
well, actually down on Smith Point, you can look it up. It's over there near Anahuac. At Smith Point, it's actually started already now. The hawk migration's already been going on. You can go down there and watch the hawks go over. And they also have the hummingbirds are through there too.
Yeah,
Come to think of it, that's a good spot, John. You were wanting hummingbirds. I mean, they have feeders, but it's the same way right now with the virus. They're not letting as many people up on the platforms, but they're still down on the lower level. You can watch the hawks come over. And that includes the golden eagle and bald eagles go over. So, I mean, it's a hit or miss, but that's a great place to watch it.
A platform there, I don't know what the platform, 20, 30 feet off the ground, something like that. And they have a guy that used to have a guy set up there and did the count. So every day he counts what he sees and logs it in. And they used to put it on the website or send us an email, but I don't know what they do nowadays.
It's on the blog. It's
on the blog now. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting. It's interesting to know how many different types of hawks and how many birds fly over it that they actually, try to make a reasonable count of. It's really a large number. And then also, Bolivar Peninsula is a good place for photography. This was a photo club. We went down, years ago, and we got there by sunrise. And this is a picture we took on the beach there. The guy out there fishing, and the sun rising. So good opportunities for good photography there early in the morning. Then the Galveston, I think this is an old power plant. I'm not sure what it is, but it's abandoned now. It may be torn down, I'm not for sure, but that's just another, and a little Connie's graffiti up here on it, something to photograph. Nice old building.
Yeah, most people take pictures of Bishop's Palace and that type of thing when they go, but
we don't.
We don't.
Okay. And this is the little pier there at the end of 20th Street. They have that big museum back there, that offshore platform museum. I don't know if you guys have been to that, but it's behind it. Then there's a pier right here behind it. And there's always these shrimp boats in there, and it's a good place to catch wildlife. So there's a lot of different birds. The pelicans are in there a lot. There's a little fish market on the right-hand side of this, and sometimes they're cleaning fish and they throw all the guts back in the water, and the pelicans just go nuts trying to get after those guts and stuff,
You also have the Alyssa, the tall ship, sailing ship is all just right here to the left of all this.
Yeah, so you have all the big pelicans, and when you walk down the little pier, they're all just sitting there. So you can get real close to them and get great shots.
There's also usually dolphins out in the water back there, back behind it here.
And you have the little night herons and all sorts of different birds, the great whites or the white egrets, and so you never know. It's a good place though.
The only problem in here is parking. It's not the best parking, and it's paid parking. It's very limited. And of course, there's always people. It's always fun to catch some colorful people along the beach. This happens to be at the East End. Just a lady out for her morning walk. It was all covered up and nicely toned in colors for me. And then we have the rehabilitation and rescue. This is also something I know the Photo Club did part of this. We went out and did the St. Francis Wolf Sanctuary, which is now located in Navasota. It was in, I think, Tomball when we did it before.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a great way to kind of catch some wolf pictures. These are actually probably half and half, or who knows what their mix is, but they've got some wolf in them. But just gorgeous animals. It's a great way to practice. I don't know what their setup is now. It's a lot larger facility that they have. Hopefully it's a little bit better to take photos than just through chain link fence.
Yeah, these were kind of hard because you were taken through the chain link fence, so you had to get your camera just right to get the pictures.
And then the Houston Audubon has a Rapture and Education Center. It's not necessarily open to the public, but they have different functions that they open it up for. Actually, they have one coming up pretty soon that they're opening up. They call it Photography Day. You do have to pay, but you have this opportunity to take these gorgeous pictures of raptures. And of course, another item that's fun to go and take pictures of is the Fred Hartman Bridge. I think we all recently shared a couple of our pictures of this. But there's different angles to take, with Jim Lee's taking one, I know, down the middle of the road straight up. This one happens to be on the south side of the bridge from the LaPorte side. And it's just right there in front of it. There's a little bay there, and you can see there's kind of an island here, but you can't go out on this island. It's private land.
And it's hard to get to this place too. And,
yeah.
But it just made a neat picture, different perspective.
And of course, the nighttime shot that I think I shared with y'all before. This is from Bayland Marina. And this is public land. So it has a nice concrete parking lot.
Yeah, a large parking lot right beside the area there.
And right about where I'm standing is a really nice restaurant and bar area that has music going on and that type of thing. And then there's this little peninsula out here, which I didn't discover until it got darker, that you could take out, probably walk out to the edge of and get an even closer view of it. They actually had it mowed down the middle. That's the part I missed until it got a little bit darker. And I had open-toed shoes, so I wasn't going to walk out there in the dark, not knowing where I was going. But anyway, so it's a great opportunity there to go and take pictures and have maybe a few cold ones later on.
Then the Houston and Ship Channel, I like the big boats and all the stuff, and the photographing is kind of fun too, because you never know what you're going to see. But this place here is right at the ship, the tunnel that goes on the Ship Channel. Washburn, you going to talk about it?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yeah. This is called the Santa Ana Capture Site, is what he was trying to tell you. And this park is located on the south side of the channel at the Washburn Tunnel entrance. And as long as you put that in your phone or Google Map, it'll get you there. If you try to find it on your own, you're probably going to be in trouble, because when you come out of the Washburn Tunnel, if you're coming from the north side through south and coming out of the Washburn Tunnel, you have to make the complete loop back around to the tunnel and go right beside, before you enter back into the tunnel, there is a road that goes right beside the tunnel.
It's a little one-lane road.
And it looks like you're going into a refinery, but you're not, because there's a guard gate right there. It's kind of a little spooky, but that guard gate is actually for the Washburn Tunnel. So you just keep going on down, and then once you get past the tunnel, the road will turn to the right and you go to the park. It has signs once you get that way, but for a while it's not.
Yeah, what you're telling me, when you come out of that tunnel, is a circle, so you got to go around that circle. It's one of the few circles remaining that I know of. You have to go around a traffic circle and come right back to the tunnel.
I could have included this in the historical locations, but I didn't think it was very historical. In terms of the history there, it is historical, but what's there is not. they just have a big marker up. This happens to be exactly what it says, the place that Santa Ana was captured. But it was where the Texan Army, a couple of their soldiers just happened to capture this person who was dressed in plain clothes and took him back to the San Jacinto Monument area. And when they brought him back into the battlefield, a couple of days after the Battle of San Jacinto, all of the wounded or captured soldiers said, El Capitan, and we're saluting him. So then that's when they knew that they had captured Santa Ana. And so that's all that's there is this marker in this green space.
Another interesting thing to remember is when they had the battle down there, the ship channel was only about 50 feet wide. It was not near like it is today. So it was probably more like crossing a creek than it was crossing the ship channel back in the days of the battle.
Yeah.
But these are, again, we stayed there maybe a couple of hours, and the barges, different barges, tugboats and ships, and the Coast Guard came flying by.
Actually, something had to be going on that day because we had the Coast Guard come flying by. We had the Houston police come flying by. It was something was going on.
Yeah, these guys are really moving too.
Yeah, that was the thing. It's some things move slow, like the big boats, and some things move fast. So you get to have fun on that. So you can see we were trying to stay there for the sunset. We thought maybe that'd be nice lighting, but unfortunately the park closes right before sunset. It's got a little gate. It's not a big gate, but you got to get your vehicle outside of that gate. We didn't think about it. We could have just parked right there on the outside.
You walk back over.
And step back over the little gate. It's one of those 2-foot little gates, you know, that they just block out the traffic. But it was really nice lighting that day. Now this site is the Juan Seguin Historic Park. And so we're now getting back into that area of the monument, San Jacinto Monument and the Battleship Texas. This is right before, this is right on the ship channel and right before you get to or depending on which way you come, right beside the battleship and the ferry. It's right at the ferry.
Yeah, right at the ferry.
Lynchburg Ferry.
Now we're talking about the Monument Inn. It's right across the street from this. We went and took pictures and then had lunch at the Monument Inn.
So,
but they have a nice little park there. The picture here is a park, and they have a boardwalk that is out over the ship channel. It's a great place to take pictures. I mean, you can see up and down the channel and have a good view.
And this happens to be right where the San Jacinto River comes in, since you're familiar with where the ferry is. It's right where the San Jacinto River comes in. So you really get a lot of activity at this site.
Yeah, a lot of barges and tugboats.
And like you said, then you can just go in the Monument Inn, have lunch, or grab you a cold one. It's very, very nice setup.
And then you can watch all the boats and tugboats and barges go up down the river while you're having lunch.
Yeah.
Too.
And they are working on the ferry at this point. Oh, that's the other thing. So you can't go across at the ferry right now.
Yeah, they're doing major construction on that ferry right now. They had broken out, looks like all the concrete work on the south side there by the Monument Inn, and apparently going to put in sheet piles and redo that whole concrete drive off there.
See, you can either come through the Washburn Tunnel and grab your pictures there, or you can come over 146, the Fred Hartman Bridge, and get your pictures there before you get here.
And wildflowers, of course, everybody likes to do wildflowers. We do it in the club, so we threw that in threw wildflowers in here. And of course, these are in the Brenham area. And here's Independence. Some we took there. It's always a great place to go. Okay. And then, again, these still at Independence.
I thought those things were called buttercups.
If you're the native name, the real name is a primrose.
Yeah.
But everybody that grew up around them, yes, they're called buttercups.
Yeah, I always thought they were buttercups, so I learned they were primrose. Yeah.
You know, when somebody gives you the official name, you go, oh, really?
And just to fill the wildflowers. Right.
Yeah. And then Washington County actually publishes a Bluebonnet Trail map. So it is out on that website, and you can see they also give you a lot more other information. They'll talk about cotton gin and museums and RV parks and wineries. All types of things are on this because they have a driving tour. So they have historical marker trails too as well. But we usually use it just for the wildflowers. So we typically would be somewhere on this side doing wildflowers. We get into Independence, which we did earlier with Washington on the Brazos, that type of thing. So.
Back roads we can find too, usually when we're going.
Yeah, whatever. We turn left or turn right. We make up our mind whichever way we're going to go. The Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center also has information on their site to tell you about, of course, they'll tell you about the flowers, but they also tell you when they think they're going to peak and what area and that type of thing. So that's why I think these sites are good. Texas Highways also has wildflower drives. They may be outside of this 1 hour drive, but at least you can find where else there might be different types of wildflowers.
And when you're driving around, you never know what you might find. And so we found this field of longhorns, and so we got out and took pictures of longhorns for a few minutes.
Yeah, don't just look for wildflowers.
Yeah, and then also there's wildlife. I guess the guy had a ranch there, and so he had all the different types of wildlife on it, the exotic wildlife. So we thought and took pictures of those too.
Oh. And across from that really gorgeous field of flowers, if Bill's on here, he knows about this church. It's a Salem Lutheran Church in Whitehall. It's a great place to always get your flowers. I mean, it is always gorgeous on that one little field. The city's done a great job. But this is an older church. As you can see, it was established in 1893, and it's still there. It's a very nice little church. Some people take their pictures. The field I'm talking about is over here on this right-hand side. It's not in that
just across the highway from there.
But if nobody parks in front of this church, it's really nice to take a trail out into the wildflowers and take your picture back with the wildflowers and the church behind it. Bill Baird shared one of those photos, I think, at one of our last meetings or groups.
And then whenever you're driving around, we went through Chapel Hill and driving around the little town, and you always run across some interesting places to see and take photos. This happens to be the Chapel Hill United Methodist Church. Had the stained glass windows with the red doors. It's really a neat place to photograph. Here's some more photographs of the area around it there in the church itself. And this is Independence. We're back, but it's the building there, the old dog trot type of log cabin. Another good place to take pictures.
Yeah, you can tell it wasn't that very many. This particular picture didn't have a ton of wildflowers, but there usually is around there.
Yeah, it just depends. And of course, they're at Independence Antique Rosing Forum, and it's a good place for taking pictures too. Just with the flowers and the grounds, they have different things on the grounds. I like the big trellises or whatever you want to call it for the vines they had made up out there. They have several of those, and the roses growing on them. Really neat place.
It's a usual stop for us if we're up in that area.
Yeah, we always end up buying plants too. So.
And I'll even say with the pandemic, the nice thing is that they do have a restroom. So it's a nice restroom stop.
Just some of the pictures of the flowers, the poppies there, the blooming one over there. Then they have this old church, which I guess they still use it. And I think there's a lot of weddings that are held there. And again, it's a nice building to photograph. And then they do have the butterflies. So these were the monarchs.
And of course, when you're in Brenham, I know you're normally taking a lunch break when you do that and you're from the wildflowers, but we discovered they had murals. So we went around town, just in the downtown area. These are some of the murals that they had.
We would have gotten a bluebell, but they were closed when we were there.
Yeah. There's many others in town. We just didn't do them.
Yeah. And we know where to put this at events, special events. This is the Big Boy 4014, which a lot of us went and took pictures of in the photo club. And so things like that are really a once in a lifetime event to go take pictures of. This was a Union Pacific celebrating the 150th anniversary by running this one Big Boy train. I think there were like 25 of them built, and they were between 5,000 and 7,000 horsepower, the biggest steam engines ever built. And I think there's 8 left today, but there's only one that's in working service, which is this one here. And I know a lot of people took them pictures of it in Houston, but we went up to Jacksonville around our farm because they'd coming through, and we went out and surveyed several places to take pictures. So I dropped Connie off at one place, dropped my daughter off at one place, I went to another place. So along the line, we shot different photographs so they got different backgrounds and different perspectives of the train. And then we followed it for about 50 miles to a couple of other little small towns and stops that made up in East Texas.
So keep in mind when you're doing these kind of events to look around and not to forget the people.
This was one of the guys at one of the little small towns we stopped in, and we said, "Hey, we take your picture." He said, "Oh, sure." So he posed for us to take his picture. And this was another guy, him and his wife there, they had a little dog. And these are just the local guys. I mean, these are really good guys. And turned out this guy in a black hat actually doesn't live too far from our farm.
I thought for a while David was going to be related. We just didn't get there. Didn't spend enough time. And then of course there's balloon festivals or events that I just think are the most colorful things for photographers. Now these particular pictures are all from Albuquerque's ones, but there are local ones. It's called the Great Texas Balloon Race. Clear Lake used to have one, but they no longer are doing that a couple of years ago. But the one that is now is that I always keep saying would be a great one for the photo club to do is in Longview. And Longview's still going to have theirs. Well, they didn't have it this summer. They've already posted their dates for next year, which are June 18th through the 20th. And it's a 3-day festival. They have about 50 balloonists show up, and they have some of the characters like this, and they have some of the regulars. And what they do is they compete in these Olympic type competitions, whereby you can see this post right here. There's something on top of that, a little bag of something, and these people go compete by making around and coming and picking that up, or they get one from even lower down that they have to pick up, and then how fast they go. It's a competition that goes around, and it's really a neat thing to watch.
Yeah, I didn't know balloons could they actually go up and down to find the right current, and then they'll make a circle around it. So it's really kind of fun to watch them maneuver and do all that stuff. And then early in the morning, you see them firing up here. It was actually, that shot was pretty dark. It's a lot lighter there. Picture's been worked on, but it was really almost dark when they're firing these balloons up, and pretty cool. So it's really colorful events. A nice place to take photographs.
Yeah.
My sister used to work for a bank in Albuquerque that had 2 balloons, and they were shaped like piggy banks. There was Miss Penny and Lil Buck. And
Yeah.
my sister got to be on the chase car that would follow them around and pick them up when they landed.
Yeah. Well, when we were out there, they also had a couple accidents, had a couple balloons went in some power lines, and had a couple people got killed.
Yeah.
So it's fun, but it's also dangerous if you don't know what you're doing.
Well, even if they knew, I think the wind picked up on them.
Well, sometimes wind will.
Yeah, that's what it was. It's the wind picked up that day on them.
Yeah.
They were trying to come down and it just pushed them in.
Yeah, they have all sorts of the figures. I mean, everything from stagecoaches to.
Well, that was Wells
Everything.
Fargo, but yeah,
They
I
had
mean, like you
everything.
said, all the sponsors that have theirs. It's just really, and to see so many in the sky, you can just, I don't remember how many pictures we took, but we took a ton. And we only spent 1 day there, I think. Maybe 2 days.
Yeah, one morning there.
Yeah. And of course, the other events that everybody enjoys around here, the local rodeos. I know you kind of go local, meaning Houston, but I mean, Houston is great. It's a shame they closed them down this year, but as far as getting in, you can get in with your camera inside the gates with no problem. It just depends on where your tickets are as far as the actual livestock show part of it, the rodeo part of it. I know we had our speaker who said, oh, you can just go down and take pictures, but you can't always go down the rows. They won't let you get into that part. But there's so much outside of the rodeo part. I mean, between the mutton busting outside, everything in the midway is just open for photography.
And if you have grandkids, you take them to the petting zoo. There's always good opportunities to photograph the kids with the animals there too.
Yeah.
Years ago, they used to have a prison rodeo at Huntsville, and you would go, and there was a big fence between you and the prisoners that were sitting in the stands, but the prisoners would actually compete, And you know, like they'd have a bag of money between the horns of a bull, and whoever got the money got to keep it.
Yep, quite familiar with that. My grandfather worked for the prison system. And then
Oh,
I also worked those rodeos when I was in college.
Hmm.
So yeah. And of course, real local is the Crosby Fair and Rodeo. Crosby's is actually coming up. I think theirs is in September. And I haven't seen anything on there saying they were going to cancel. So that would be a lot smaller and easier to take pictures of. And of course, we have Humble, which I know Chuck participated in, but I think he had to have a press pass to do. But I don't think you'd have to have a press pass to do all of that. Now, Humble, on the other hand, maybe it's theirs that I read about. They're very limited on who they're going to let in and out of theirs. Their barbecue, they're just going to still have their barbecue competition, but their actual rodeo part of it is not going to happen. I don't think they're anything to do with their kids. They're limiting people, only the participants can be a part of.
The Humboldt Rodeo, just to let you know, I mean, I had a press pass, but you can still take your cameras in there and take great pictures, even if you.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's the right size to do that.
Yeah, Jim Skep came in with me one night, and he didn't have a press pass. He got all the same pictures I did. So. Yeah,
and that's what I'd say about the barbecue cook-off as well. Even though it's private, when you go in, there's very limited of being able to get into certain booths because they're sponsored booths, and so you can't get in there. But a lot of them are kind of open, and the people are just wanting to show off their booths and stuff like that. So you can get their pictures and their groups. They want group pictures. Like you say, if you tell them, hey, I'll send it to you, they're really willing to show off what they've done. And of course, then.
I was interested in that. They were looking for photographers for, I think it was the Humboldt Rodeo, was it, Chuck?
Yeah.
But you had to commit to going every day for like a week or something.
But you're working for them. It's not like they want you to have fun. You're actually working. Well, they want you to go out there and take pictures, publicity pictures for the school district.
Right. So that's who it's all for. It's their education foundation is who gets the money from that.
They weren't out there asking, offering you to have fun. They were saying they wanted you to work. So.
And that's the reason why Chuck was looking for more people. We could have been representative if he wouldn't have been out there every day himself personally. But yeah, and then the Pasadena Livestock Show and Rodeo, which is easy to get to from here. They do the same thing. It's a small arena, or smaller than Houston, let's say. But just to kind of give you an idea, I mean, this is, we're back to that food thing. David and I have this thing about food. So, we go around the Midway and take some pictures and gather some of you can get the guy with his hat and all the food out there.
Makes you hungry, doesn't it?
You can smell it from here.
Big Daddy corn dogs right there too.
No.
Curly fries.
In the back.
Fries.
Yeah. Then of course we have events. We still have a list of other small town rodeos. If you're interested, this is a website. These are going to take you a little bit further than our area, but still, if you're traveling, check them out. They might be in where you're going. And of course, the photo club has done the Wings Over Houston Ellington Airport. There's a designated spot for photographers. So, but for David and I, we also tell you just to go over here at the airport on Lee Road.
Lee Road.
And you can they have a parking lot for you. You can park in there and you can just when the airplanes are really going, you can practice taking the planes coming over. They come.
Yeah, they get real close there.
Yeah, you're real close there. It's a great place to take a grandkid or a kid and let them just watch the planes. And then of course, festivals, events in Houston. There's a website, visithoustontexas.com. It has all of them listed. There is everything in the world, as we already know. That Houston is a very diverse group, city, and has all kind of events all the time. So if you're looking for something to do, just look on that website and see if it's something that's open enough or something of interest that brings you color.
They have an amazing quilt show.
Yes. Actually, it's at the convention center.
Yeah.
And then I'd say the same thing about the rodeo. If you go to the rodeo, there's amazing, it's also got quilts there. It's got the artwork from all the kids. You can do things behind the scenes that have a lot of things too.
Well, a lot of that stuff is coming up. It's going to in the fall, so there's other we may talk about. But there's a lot of the little small towns around that have their little, festivals. During the weekends, and they're kind of fun to go to too.
so many of them are starting to cancel those things though, so I don't know about this year.
Yeah.
But almost every little town has something.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to get into our bailiwick and cover some of the local wildlife.
Yeah. Anahuac National Wildlife Refuge, I'm sure most of you have been out there, but that's really a good place to do wildlife photography, mainly because you can do it out of your vehicle too, and you're fairly close to the wildlife. And so it's kind of an easy place to see a lot of wildlife. You go in the spring, you get to catch a lot of the babies and stuff that are the new birds and animals that are hatching out, or birds that are hatching out. And then you get the alligators. So it's really a good place.
I did see where Bill Staney, I think you marked this on our map.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there many times. Yes.
Yeah. It's a great place.
Yeah.
It does have walks, but there is some trails there.
Yeah, there's a couple walks out into the marsh, boardwalks out in the marsh you can take too, which if you got kids, it's kind of fun to take them out there. They get to walk out and over the boardwalk over the water, so it's kind of fun.
Yeah. So you can see this is just some of the things that we've seen. And I'll tell you quickly, the river otter is not something you're going to see every time.
Yeah, you may see the alligator and everything, but the river otter, they're there. It's just not, you're not going to see them all the time.
Usually we see their tail because they've disappeared into the water.
Yeah, these are, I think, well, some of these are this year. The green heron was taken this year, the ibis, and turtles, I believe, and the baby green heron were taken this year.
Yeah, these were very easy nest actually this year.
Yeah.
Very easy to get.
And Baytown Nature Center, for us that have worked down that area, it's pretty close to the Exxon Mobil refinery down there on Bayway Drive. But it's a fairly nice little park. You have to pay to get in, but you get I think there's a senior discount.
Yeah, seniors are like $1.
Yeah. And
then I don't know, one day during the week it's even free. So.
But you almost always find the ospreys there. They're generally, if you want to take pictures of ospreys, they're almost always there. And sometimes you get the kingfishers are there.
Yeah, kingfishers and occasionally an eagle.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it or heard about it in the last couple of years, but we had seen them before in the past. Actually, you can see the monument, St. Lucia Monument from here, but it's just way off. You might try that 600 that Bill's got now.
And Brazoria National Wildlife Refuge in Brazoria is another good place to go. I mean, it's again, you're gonna be shooting out of your vehicle most of the time. You can't park and get out, but you can just walk around your vehicle and take pictures. But the reason we done this year, the wood starks were there, and they come in the summer, so we don't see those very often. I mean, this is the first time we've ever photographed them here in the States. We photographed them in South America and some other places, but there were I imagine probably about 40 out there every time they came in. And it's funny, they all came in between like 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock. We were sitting there watching them. A few started coming in, they all started coming in.
We were about to leave to go eat.
Yeah.
They started coming in.
Yeah, we left and then we got back, they were all in one time. But it's a good, it's a lot of other wildlife there too, not just the wood starks.
Yeah.
When we had the drought in here, and the water in front of Zamides got pinched off, and all the fish were caught in there. I saw a whole flock of wood storks in there. They're attracted to the smell of rotting vegetation when water drops.
Yeah.
And I had never seen that many every now and again I would see one, when I was kayaking, but I'd never seen that many until the drought.
Yes, we weren't here. I remember Scott sending us an email. Scott Watson Myers sending us an email saying the storks were at Zamides, and we went, great, we're not there. We were traveling.
But there's all sorts of other birds there, the Dixosil caracara, and again, you got dragonflies, and just all sorts of really nice opportunities to photograph wildlife. And another favorite place to go is Brazos Bend State Park. You can get out there and walk around quite a bit. They have most things there you're going to walk and take pictures of. So it's a good place to go. And again, a lot of
They have
ducks,
huge
alligators.
alligators right next to the walkway sometimes. It's a little
They're not
nerve-wracking.
next to it, they're on it.
Yeah, they've been on it before.
You have
And
to
they
know
have
the
a
rules.
sign- They have a sign that says, if an alligator gets your fish, let him have it.
Yeah,
And don't bring your yappy dog because alligators like those.
yeah. Yeah, and it's a good place in spring to see the baby alligators. They're,
Yeah.
you know, you always find those around too. So
Yeah, this is and because of where it's located, it's usually a very popular park.
yeah, they camp there, and so they have park for the kids. It's really a really a nice park. And one of the things that's been really neat for us, they've had the great horned owls. They have
Well, wait a
You're
minute.
not there yet? Okay.
Not there yet.
And these are some of the pictures they're taking of the different birds.
Now you can talk
All
about
right, the owls, the great horned owls. They seem to have one seems to have the nest around in the park there every year, and it's usually pretty accessible. This year, this is one from this year, and you can see that it had the little baby owlets there.
Oh, they also had the baby squirrels. See, this is what squirrels are good for.
Yeah.
On that previous slide, what did that guy have in its mouth in the middle shot?
He has an eel in his mouth.
An eel? Wow.
Yeah. See it?
Wow.
He swallowed the whole thing.
Oh,
We have a series of those pictures where he's eating it.
Yeah.
And you can see the grebe has the crawfish.
Yeah. That's an American bitter, and so he's a little bit bigger. There's the least bitter and an American bitter, and he's a pretty good sized bitter, but he swallowed the whole eel.
He took a while at it, but
Yeah,
he
it took him
did.
a while, but he got it down.
Yeah, I saw a blue heron eat a pretty good sized snake at the cove one time.
Yeah.
He,
it's
he
amazing
dunked
what
it in the
they eat.
water and he'd bring it up and it was still alive and he'd dunk it and he finally drowned it and then he swallowed it and glunk glunk.
Yeah.
But it's not too often you get a chance to take pictures of owls and
Yeah.
have no obstruction in front of you and this not have to go straight up or through the woods on something.
This is what Al was intrigued. When you go into Brazos Bend, you know, you go through the gate there to check in. We actually parked in that parking lot. It was just across the street from the guard or the gatehouse there.
Wow.
So it was very easy to see. And like I said, the mama had killed a squirrel and was feeding the baby to the squirrel there.
Wow.
Actually 3 of them, but they don't all 3 appear in a picture at one time, even though they look like they posed for us. Paid them $1, gave them a squirrel to pose.
Yeah. And then when we went up to the pitcher plants in Warren, we came back through Beaumont, and they have this cattail marsh and wetlands and boardwalk there. And again, we weren't there at the right time of the day. It was kind of the middle of the day.
We were just doing exploring.
Yeah, just exploring. So we'd never been to it. When I actually went to school at Lamar in Beaumont, when the Babe deeded to Herrick Park, and they had a golf course up there when I was going to school up there. That's all there was. And then I had this, I think this was an old wastewater treatment area back there, and they turned it into this marsh. And it has a lot of wildlife in it. And this is the grebe that had come in while we were there. I'd never seen a grebe fly. I don't know if you guys are wildlife people have seen grebes, but they're always in the water, and they always go underwater and fish underwater. I'd never seen one fly. Well, we saw 3 of them fly in. So it's kind of a unique experience.
I saw one at Brazos Bend one time that had a crawfish that I thought it was so big I thought it was a lobster. And he swallowed that thing in one gulp. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And this is a raccoon who was there. There were some people that were having a little picnic lunch there, and this raccoon had come up to see if they'd feed him a little of their chicken, and they didn't. So he ran off and kind of got a good picture of him. It was a female, so you can tell if you see her from the side, you can tell she has babies somewhere.
Yeah.
And she was getting food for her babies in there.
I didn't get too close because I think she was really hungry.
Yeah. And again, this walkway goes right out in the middle of the
Yeah, they have
of
a
the marsh.
boardwalk.
Boardwalk's really nice, and it has 2
Covered
covered areas on it. You go about halfway, and it's got a big covered area. You can stop in the shade, then you go on further out, and it's got another covered area over it. And you can sit there and take pictures of the wildlife. Again, these are what was there mostly with the grebes that day. So
Yeah.
these are all the grebe pictures we took. But you see this down there by him. He had been flying. He came in for a landing. Look how he's pushing the water in front of him. Really, really kind of fun to watch.
They just entertained us for a long time
Yeah.
for being midday and just checking it out. This huge pond has a walkway all the way around it, so you can walk all the way around as
Yeah,
well.
I think in the fall, if you were going to fall in winter, it'd be a good place to walk. In the summer, nah, it's a little hot and humid in Beaumont too.
Yeah, so it's a great place. It's got a lot of cattails and that type of thing. So I'm sure the winter birds will come in here.
Yeah, I think you got a lot of different ducks in there in the wintertime.
Yeah. And then another popular place, especially in the springtime for us, is Sabine Woods. It's a Texas Ornithological Society site, and it is in Sabine Pass. It has wooded areas as well as an open area with mulberry bush trees, so it's very popular. It is one of those sites that all the birds drop in when they're migrating, trying to look for either water and or food.
Yeah, and if you have a good, northerly rainfall come through, a lot of them will drop out there and they'll rest there for maybe a day or two before they start flying on further north.
So you can see that the group has set up very nice little bird bath areas and water troughs for the birds. Of course, those happen to be the darkest spots,
Yeah.
but at different times of the day, light does come in. So you have to deal with light. The forest is definitely heavy and thick, and so it's also another dark spot. So the better your camera is at operating in the dark, the better.
Yeah, the woods are really hard to take a picture in, and you have the different birds that like the woods, and you have a different birds like the grosbeak here. It likes all the berries there on the mulberry tree. But in the wood there, you get dapple light, so you have sunlight and then you have shadows, and it's very difficult to get a really good picture. I don't know how many pictures I took, and I didn't any good ones. They're just very difficult.
And then of course we have Houston Audubon. Maybe John could talk a lot about this, but it's a group that's done really well for all the migrating birds as well, or any of the wildlife in the area. So they have multiple sites, not only just in the area we were just talking about, High Island and Bolivar are the popular ones, and West Galveston Bay, but even here within the city of Houston, they have the urban Houston, they have bottomlands, they have smaller properties. You can just go on their website and see it, and it's another great place to explore. Of course, we like High Island, and you can see why. It's a great time to take pictures in the springtime, when all the High Island in particular, we can say the rookery, where the babies, they all do their nesting on the islands there at Clay Bottom. I think all of
I'm
these.
sad that you couldn't get as close as you used to before the hurricane.
For the
It's
hurricane.
like the trees are farther away than they used to be.
Really?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think
But
anything
they have
changed.
that. But they have a lot more. They've got the platforms and stuff that are really good too to take pictures off of now.
Yeah, but they don't seem like they're as close as they used to be a long time ago. But I don't know.
Your eyes are just getting better.
Yeah. You just need to get that bigger lens out. But the nice thing that the Audubon Society is doing is building this gorgeous walkway that's going to be through the treetops, and then it's going to go right out to that clay bottom. So it was under construction, actually.
In March.
Yeah, March, I guess. We went. We were there the last day they closed up the site because of the pandemic, and so we did see the construction. And I would think, John, maybe when you go, you'll hear more about that. Maybe it's finished by now.
Yeah, they're going to start volunteer activities in October. I just got the newsletter yesterday. And so they're getting geared up for the spring.
Yeah, and that's what I said. I think that walkway's bound to be finished.
Yeah.
And the other thing is they've taken that old pump house and converted it into a useful facility for the organization. So they'll have a much better place to have people come to and meet before you go out on the walkway.
Yeah, I think they put restrooms in there.
Yeah, they're putting restrooms.
They're supposed to, but I don't know if they're finished yet. So I'll find out in October when I go down there.
But it will be, because you won't have to use the Johnny on the spots anymore. They have nice restrooms there. So it's going to really, really fix that up nice. But
Well, that's a two-edged sword. You're going to get a lot more people.
Well,
It'll be much nicer.
Well, we already know it's a world site.
yeah, it's a world famous site. I mean, if
So-
people come from all over the United States and the world to go over there and take pictures of the birds, it's really a well-known location.
Oh yeah, I sit there and sell tickets in the springtime, and it's amazing where people come from all over the world to go to this
Yeah.
location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And if
was-
you're there, go
I
ahead.
was there last year, and there was, I think, a Japanese tour bus had gotten off. There were about 50 or 60 Japanese guys, all with the nicest Nikon and Canon cameras.
Yeah. But anyway, it's a good place. When the birds are there, they're there, and when they're not, they're not. So you have to, it's one of
Well,
the
the
places
rookery's
where,
always
except for the rookery's there, it's always reliable. But for the migrating birds, you just have to be there at the right time.
Yeah, you need to hit it, like you said earlier, right after a norther goes through,
Right.
and go down there and check it out.
Yeah. It's High Island and then the Bolivar Peninsula too. So when we always go to High Island, we always go on the Bolivar Peninsula to shoot the wildlife there too. So we got pictures of both here. There's a rabbit there at High Island.
Since there wasn't as many people, the rabbits were out.
Yeah, we got rabbits and summer tanners.
Yeah. But you get the turns, they're doing their little catching of the little fish and the stilt catching his.
That's a rail.
Yeah. And the willet's back behind
The
all
willet.
these people.
The willet's kind of a plain bird, but when he puts his wings out or he can fly, he's really pretty. He's got nice, colorful wings. So it's a challenge to catch the willet with flying or when he's fluffing his wings out, like Connie got this one. And these are the sandwich terns up here. I think they're fighting over the fish. I don't think one of them's being nice to the other one, giving it one. So I don't think it's a male giving the female a fish. I think they're fighting over it.
I was out on a sailboat a couple of weeks ago and there were a bunch of terns. One tern had caught a fish and all the other guys were trying to get it. And he dropped it and another tern grabbed that fish before it hit the water.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome to watch them fish too. They hit that water just like a pelican hits it. They go splash right down into it.
And then, of course, we always have our own backyards. But I think everybody has discovered their own backyards recently. Especially since I heard so many of y'all talking about feeders. So y'all also get this opportunity. And normally my suit does have a little bit of cayenne in it sometimes, not in these pictures, but and I also say the thing about, I think with this pandemic, it's given us all the opportunity, I should say, to look at our own backyards a little differently and start saying, oh, maybe I should practice my night photography in my own backyard, that type of thing. Yeah, we overlook our own backyard. And if this wasn't enough for y'all guys, we even have more additional places to check out. This is still on my hit list that we're planning on. Well, maybe not. David may not go with me. Somebody else may be interested. Preservation Houston gives architectural walks. And so that means downtown Houston in the Heights area, which there are some great buildings that they'll point out to you. I don't know how much they'll slow down for pictures, but at least we could go and get some information and then go back to that. And of course, all of you have seen, or maybe not, but the Rothko Chapel, I think Ken Frederick has done some great shots of that area between the gardens and the structures that are there. George Ranch Historical Park, which is down in Richmond, it is still a working ranch, and they also have all these different activities. And they have, like, I'll call it like Heritage Days or Ranch Days, and they have people dress up in the period clothes, or they show you how they rustle up it's actually active when they bring in the cows and they dip them. So you can take those pictures too.
They used to take cows and make dipping bats for them when they try to get the flies on them. So they run these cows off and they jump off in this bat basically, and then they'd run out. And that's how they spray. They should have sprayed them. They just dipped them.
And it used to not be as many people going. I don't know now how things are going.
But if you're going to Brazos Bend, that's right out there by Brazos Bend, so it's pretty close to that.
And I think Rice University is a beautiful campus to take pictures of. And maybe if they're still doing online classes, you might be able to get on the campus and park easy and take some pictures around that area.
In Rice, they have that light feature. It's like a building that has a hole in the ceiling.
Right. Uh-huh.
And as the light, sun changes, so does the light. It's really pretty.
Yeah, there's a name for it, Emily. I do have that somewhere on my list
Yeah,
too.
I can't remember the artist, but he does art. He did the art, the light displays in the tunnel of the Fine Arts Museum, that has,
Uh-huh. Changes all the different colors.
yeah, he has one in a volcano. Not an active one, but anyway.
Yeah, the one you're talking about though sits up on a hill, and I can't think of its name right now.
Yeah.
But then if you're traveling around, just check out tourtexas.com. It shows all the different activities and all the little buildings and stuff. As far as outdoor photography events, we believe you learn a lot from fellow photographers. Of course, we've learned a lot from the people here within the photo club, but even when you're out taking pictures and you see somebody else, you start talking to them, they're willing to share. I think attending nature walks or programs or workshops like this one, or walks that these different parks offer, you learn a lot about the plants, the birds, the different programs that they have. And then as far as resources for wildlife in the great outdoors, we've always been a proponent of the Great Texas Wildlife Trail Maps. They are provided by the Texas Parks and Wildlife free online, or you can purchase the printed ones. You can see how many there are. They are, if you buy a single one, it's $5. If you buy a set, they're $25. I don't think you get all of them in the set. Doesn't seem like there were a couple of them that they didn't send one time. But it's a huge map when you open it all up, and it just gives you a trail that you can follow. And then of course, follow photographers on the internet. My goodness, if we don't know that, between Facebook, Flickr, Instagram, Smug, YouTube, you name it, National Geographic has a site. You just learn a whole lot from those different sites and the photographers. And a lot of them are willing to share if you ask questions. And then of course, magazines. I know Chuck and I share back and forth different articles in the Outdoor Photographer. There's also National Wildlife Magazine. Texas Parks and Wildlife, I think, is one of the better ones for the local. It's also available online if you'd like. I guess I could add that story. I have met the photographer, or one of the photographers for Texas Parks and Wildlife. David and I met him actually down in Rockport, well, it was Goose Island. Goose Island. And so we stay in touch with him now and on Facebook with him. He recently photographed, or was over in Beaumont with the idea of being able to photograph the Texas game wardens doing the rescue for the hurricane, which really was only a few rescues at that point for him. Of course, this was originally set up for Jones and I thought the library. So we were telling everybody, make sure you join a photography club. Come join the Kingwood Photo Club. So enjoy the great outdoors. You know, nature never goes out of style. I think that's true. So go out and have fun doing what you do, but don't forget to put the camera down every now and then and enjoy the world around you. So now that we've talked forever, my drive.
That was great.
That was
Very good.
Enjoy that.
Were there any questions? We can't see everything over here, so I'm trying to.
I was going to mention one thing, because you were way back when you were talking about tripods and how they weren't allowed at certain places. I would point out, I was doing some architectural photography in the Galleria a couple years ago, and I was in the parking garage for the Galleria shooting the buildings across the street at sunset, and the security guard said, no tripods. And I asked why, and he said, well, you know, you might bump a car or something. So I guess if you're on private property doing something like that around the city, you probably should be forewarned. They might not allow it just for security reasons or whatever.
Yeah.
One time it was a Mother's Day or something, and I went down to the meetings to the pier down there, And this guy came up to me, one of the guards around there. And he said, "Oh, those are some nice cameras." And I said, "Thank you." And he said, "Do you sell your photographs?" And I said, "Every now and again." He said, "Well, you can't take pictures here. You can't, this is private property." And, you know, and I said, "You mean I can't walk out on the pier and take a picture of the sunset?" He said, "Well, if you stand over here on the other side of this line," but then he claimed I couldn't aim my camera over toward their property. And I just couldn't believe it. He was just a jackass.
Now, I had heard on that Kings Harbor that the management there is no longer allowing photographers there. And I think probably from your conversation, it's quote professional photographers who quote sell. They consider that's a professional photographer because you sell. They ask you, just tell them, "Oh no, it's just for my personal use."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't tell
I
them.
actually believe he was telling me I couldn't stand on the property they allowed me to stand on and not point my camera where I wanted to.
Well, if you're standing on public property, you can point your camera and take a picture of anything that you can view from public property. Now in downtown Houston, if you're taking pictures of buildings and stuff, security is going to come out, because I know a bunch of the security people of buildings there, they will come out. They think you're taking too many pictures and they're going to talk with you, because since 9/11, after 9/11, they feel that people had taken pictures, et cetera, to view buildings from a standpoint of, you know, doing bombing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was walking a Korean physician that had been rotating through my lab in the medical center, and he was taking pictures, and we got stopped.
Yeah. Yeah, the downtown